Everybody. I've been looking into a game called Everspace 2, and I'm very curious of your opinion on this because you probably know more than I do about it. Um, the thing is, this is one of those times when a game shows up on your radar and you look at it and you think, I don't think so. And you just pass on it. And then it comes back and you're like, well, that looks like it could be fun. And everyone is saying it's a lot of fun, but it really doesn't look like my style. It's like, don't think so. So you pass. And then later on, it comes back around again. And you're like, oh gosh, should I give this a chance? Should I try it? And I don't know. It's, it's, it's looking like it might be something worth giving a shot. What I originally heard, the first time I heard about this was on Obsidian Ant's video talking about it as an upcoming title in an open world, uh, handcrafted open world, mind you. And I have to stress that that's really, really appealing to me. I am a big fan of handcrafted open worlds like Subnautica, for example. Subnautica is a handcrafted, very large map, even though it's not like large in any one direction, but it's like 2 kilometers deep, right, in the water. And and the fact that it isn't procedurally generated means that it's going to be structured very carefully for the gameplay. So this is one of my chief complaints with No Man's Sky, as you all probably have heard many times when I've said that, everything looks very samey. Handcrafted stuff doesn't look samey. It's handcrafted. And then I thought, well, okay, it looks like a really great adventure game, maybe a little bit of role playing, maybe some story, maybe some, shooting and stuff. But then I saw that the term looter shooter, and I thought, uh, I'm really shooting, looting, and it'll say I've played Borderlands, right, a few times. Borderlands and Borderlands 2. I didn't like 3. Um, and they were great. They were fun, good one-time games. And but then again, it's a style I'm not typically into. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's Diablo in space," and maybe it is, but I've never played Diablo, so I don't. That comparison is lost on me. I don't know anything about Diablo. Never played it. Never got an interest in it, or even looked at it. So, what does that mean? And I thought I'd go to OpenCritic and browse around on their reviews. These are reviews not by regular people, but by by articles. So they've got one here, and I thought this one kind of caught my eye. Let's take a peek here. Yeah, sometimes it's good to try something different. Everspace 2 is my something different. It's a single player 3D space shooter looter, which to my delicate video gaming sensibilities sounds absolutely awful. See, this is me. It does, fortunately, it would seem that I have no idea what I'm talking about. 3D space shooter looters are fun. Who knew, right? Not only that, Everspace 2 isn't just fun, it's fantastic. I think I've spent too much time in space. Don't worry if you've never played the original Everspace. Apparently, it was a roguelike space shooter looter. Why does he call it shooter looter instead of looter shooter like everyone else? Which absolutely doesn't sound like my cup of dehydrated powdered space tea. Everspace 2 thankfully jettisons any roguelike loops and is just straightforward single player romp. It plays like Diablo flying in a spaceship. I don't know what that means. Basically, you're cast as a clone pilot, Adam, adrift in the universe at war. Adam must simply survive. He'll mostly do this by blowing loads of stuff up and stealing lots of other stuff. Fortunately, blowing stuff up and stealing other stuff is awesome. The 3D combat in Everspace 2 is slick and smooth. Your highly maneuverable fighter darts around asteroid fields, planets, and enemy drones with equal relish. Controls are smart and responsive, ensuring that you always know where in the environment you are, even in the midst of an epic battle. While whilst doing your third barrel roll in a row. It works so well thanks to an immensely accessible HUD and the fact that many aspects of the camera controls are automated. Okay, neatly showing you what you need to see at any given time. The end result is a sense of flight that feels graceful and elegant, that makes you feel like an amazing space ace from the opening credits until the end. Now, ages ago, I tried a demo just to see if I liked the controls, and years ago, or not years ago, whatever it was, it came out, and I was like, "Oh, this is too hard to control." Too, it didn't feel like my expectations for flight in space, and therefore I just basically put it away and thought, I'm not going to go back to this. But here I am going back to it, and I have a controller here, and I typically really hate flying in controllers. Why? Because I don't have the thumb dexterity that you young people have, and it's a much better for me to use a big joystick. And I don't know. I think you can use like a hot ass setup um, for this game, but I have heard many people say that the controller is the way to go. Absolutely. So I might have to just get over my misgivings and maybe try that. And the other thing is that what really kind of made me think was that you aren't flying a ship. You're third person, which is, and I think you might even be able to switch to the first person, but it's not as good. But you're third person, which I also typically don't like, but I've been growing accustomed to it with No Man's Sky. Um, and and moreover, I think you are the ship. If you treat the ship as your player, as your character, I think that kind of gets beyond the flight simulator mentality that I've been stuck in. I really like flight simulators, especially space flight simulators like Elite. Elite Dangerous is what I would call the best space flight simulator. X4 is pretty good, but even X4 feels arcadey compared to Elite. And I really like X4. You guys know that. This is nothing like that. It's very arcadey, but I think if you consider the ship, because it's small on the screen, and you consider the ship to be you, that suddenly you have the agility of a character rather than a large piece of flying machinery. So yeah, I'm considering it. I'm considering it. Um, that makes you feel like an amazing space ace from the opening credits until the end. All of this is enhanced by frankly gorgeous visuals, whether battling over the surface of the planet or deep in space. Developers Rockfish Games ensure that there's always a beautiful backdrop to ignore whilst you furiously fight for survival. Still, take a break from the destruction for long enough, and you'll surely be wowed by the resplendent vistas to offer here. Everspace 2 also captures scale remarkably well, going up against a huge, colossal starship. Your teeny fighter is jaw-dropping moment. Right. Now, everything looks um, like it could be good. Um, it looks like it's all about the combat, though. It's look like maybe that's the big thing here. Customizing your ship, upgrading your ship, uh, with loot that you find. Storyline wise, Everspace 2 is pretty generic. Oh, that's sad. It really is your standard space opera guff here. Plus, the comic book like cutscenes are a little flat too. Pun absolutely intended. Meanwhile, the fetch quest structure of many of the missions can mean they soon get repetitive. But all of those issues fade into oblivion as you enjoy another thrilling dogfight. Okay, so it is absolutely about the combat in a really great environment with really interesting variety, apparently. Yeah. Um, what does let's find a really well. Let's find somebody who didn't like it and see what they say. I usually do that when I'm tempted to give something a shot. Um, find me Here's 7. It's hard. It's hard to find a oh, here's a 6. Let's try this guy's review. Wing Commander Privateer. Some will argue for Elite. I will. Um, what do we see? Doesn't quite fill it out. Instead of going with roguelike, blah, blah, blah. Unreal Engine is a plus. But all this wonderful work is compromised for inexplicable reasons by the motion comic style cutscenes. Ooh, I'm not a big fan of cutscenes. I am not. You know, like there's a reason I didn't like. I'm really glad I never tried Starfield. Um, I mean, I don't think cutscenes is what it's all about in Starfield. That's probably a bad comparison, but I mean, a lot of people have really come down hard on Starfield, and I'm glad I never got into it, but for different reasons. Cutscenes themselves are they interrupt the gameplay. Anything that interrupts the gameplay is not particularly welcome in my book. While characters are distinctive, there's a serious drop in energy, almost sense of disappointment when we get a cutscene. Visual change is so jarring, it takes you out of the story and takes you out of the moment. It's particularly obnoxious when there are cutscenes immediately prior involving spacecraft, which don't go the motion comic route and are rendered in engine. Those sounds very specific complaint. Um, Music and sound effects is more hit or miss. Really? Hmm. Yeah, environmental sounds, yes, even in the vacuum space, yeah, we can forgive that in looter shooters. Um, well, I usually play without music on most of my games, to be honest, unless the music is fantastic, like it is in, for example, Rebel Galaxy. I mean, to be honest, to be clear, I wouldn't listen to any of the Rebel Galaxy songs on Spotify. They are on Spotify, but I don't like that kind of music in my personal let's sit down and listen to music free time in life. I don't. But in that game, that music works really really well. That's why I kind of rave about it. Um, Deeply mixed, good chunk of problems. Uh, there's nothing really specific here now. Come on, give me something that's really an actual complaint. Um, Click, click, boom. Problem is that outside of dogfighting, the way the engine is implemented, it's constantly trying to reorient you towards an upright position in space in the space portions. Well, that's unfortunate. When you're on a planet, this makes sense, but up and down have no meaning in space outside of gravity. Yes, I agree. I mean, ideally, we want space sims to let us fly with any direction being up. Um, Speaking of which, for players who are coming from games like No Man's Sky, there's a lot of blank screen transitions between orbital space, atmospheric flight, and interplanetary space. It's not a seamless affair. That's a big downside for me. I don't know if I would. If it happens a lot, I don't think I would like it. Um, it really depends on how well the environment is set up, though, because everything I hear about the environment in this game is that it's top tier. You know, that the places you go and the places that if you want actual exploration, that this is your game, you know, to explore and find things, interesting things that actually have to do with your relevant storyline and stuff like that. That this game does that right. I keep hearing that, whereas No Man's Sky really missed the mark there. Um, Games like Privateer and Freelance. I loved Privateer and Freelancer, by the way. Um, Customizations. Oh, some room to move around. Early portions of the game, explorers they will occasionally get blown out of the sky for their troubles if they wandered into an area which are definitely outgunned. Here, you're trapped behind a narrative wall. What? No, 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 no. I want to wander into an area where I'm definitely outgunned. That's the whole point. You're trapped behind a narrative wall, unable to enter certain systems until you advance the main storyline. I don't know if that matters. I mean, sometimes that's not bad, but if that's the whole point of how they keep you from getting in over your head, you should be able to get in over your head. Um, it makes any sort of trading activity a practical impossibility because the potential vendors all have the same starting commodities. Well, yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't probably be in it for trading. If I want to do trading, there's better games. You know, X4 has pretty good economy mechanics. I'll say that. 7-star systems. You're going to be RPG style elements, game series like Diablo and Borderlands. Okay, so is Diablo like Borderlands? Is that what we're talking about here? Um, you are level locked to certain gear. Anything above your current level can't be equipped. Oh, well, that's dumb. That's actually dumb. I mean, I can understand for gameplay reasons why they might do that, but it takes you out of the immersion. And the game will poke and prod at you when certain gear gets far below your current level. I've heard that you can upgrade your gear. Um, there's a crafting system place for players to create their new gear. Only okay, so there are legitimate complaints. Yeah. Okay, so this is probably as bad as it gets. Now we'll find a good review. We'll find somebody who really loves it and see what they say. Console. I don't play console. 95 out of 100. All right, what are the strengths of this game? Is precisely what you'd expect. To be honest, yeah, there's a lot of detail I'm really not needing to know right now. I don't need to. I don't need this. I want a general review, not a specific how to play. So what I'm going to get at, I'm just going to cut to the chase here. I'm thinking of trying this game out, and I would like your opinion on whether you think it would be a good watch as a series on YouTube. According to um, howlongtobeat.com, the main story is 31 hours, completionist 72 and a half hours. Fast-paced single-player space shooter with deep exploration, tons of loot, classic RPG elements. Experience a thrilling story set in a vivid, handcrafted open world with full of secrets and perils on your journey to become human. After all, oh, because you're a clone. Is that why they say that? When focusing on the main objectives, Everspace 2 is about 31 hours in length. If you're a gamer that strives to see all aspects of the game, you are likely to spend 72 and a half hours to obtain 100% completion. Oh, okay. See, now, I mean, that could be a lengthy series. That could be fairly lengthy series. We're talking 100 episodes here, at least. Um, and if it has an and, If it's not like X4 where you could just theoretically play it forever. If it has a proper ending, then the series would have a proper ending as well. As far as Steam goes, it turns out that it's currently on sale at 40% off. So it's just stupidly expensive at full price. And it looks like the price went up in February 2023, but the discounts have been getting, better and more frequent. So I could buy it now, and I'm not terribly thrilled about spending $45 on something I might not enjoy that much, but I'm exploring whether, I think I'm gonna like watch a few more reviews of my own and see if see if it might appeal to me. It just for some reason it just keeps coming back in my focus. I don't know why. And I was thinking, maybe this would be a good YouTube series. Maybe people would enjoy this. I don't know. Anyways, give me your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to speak up, even if you're a lurker. I know you're out there. Um, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next series.